here's what we're going to do. So we're going to go into the 5 more marketing tactics to help you grow your business. And why I call it 5 more marketing tactics is because I did a presentation last month that was 5 marketing tactics, and I decided to do 5 more for this month. I do have another one coming up next month, and I'll let you know about that in a second here. The agenda today, basically, I'm going over 5 topics that can help you grow your business. And the whole idea behind it is just stuff that you can layer in. You don't have to use all 5. You can use 1 or 2 or as many as you want. The other thing, too, is after this webinar is done, I will send out a note with a link to watch the replay on this, and I'll also include the link to last month's webinar too, so you can take a look at both of those. So, anyways, on with the show. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is content marketing, and content marketing is just basically it's creating any kind of content that you can put up via ebook or in a on a website or anything like that. And you know, basically what I've got here is I've got all the information on why you would want to have start doing content marketing. I mean, basically, people that are doing contents or have blogs or putting fresh content out on a regular basis are typically generating more sales leads for the company. And then on top of it, their costs are typically lower per sales lead. So I'm going to tell you guys how I actually create this kind of content or do content marketing. It's so simple. If anyone's been to my website, which I'm assuming most of the people on this call have been to, Sales Tip a Day, what I do is, you know, I created a blog. And how I created a blog was I went to GoDaddy.com, I registered a domain, and then I bought a hosting package, a WordPress hosting package. And then literally, GoDaddy makes it so simple. You just click a button and you can create a blog. Then what you do is you choose, I'm getting down into the minutiae here, but very quickly, you create a theme, and then what happens is then you start posting. Now, this isn't a how to actually create a blog or do anything like that. All this is just, you know, showing you guys how to get this thing going and set up. So anyways, long story short, what I did was I created a blog. And then when I first started doing content marketing, I used to sit down and actually type stuff out. And I'll give you guys an idea. I was literally about, I would guess, about a year into blogging when I had a post that I had to do and I couldn't think what to do. So I grabbed my computer and did a screen cap and put a video up. And then I realized that that took me all of about 5 minutes to do as opposed to half an hour. So it was a huge time saver. So why I say in number 2, use video, is because there's so many ways that you can actually leverage video. So why I use videos is because I can put it up on YouTube and get people to come through to my website, and I can also use it on my website. Then what I do is I use that video, I transcribe it. So I use a girl on Elance, Deborah Data Group, who she just transcribes all my videos for me, and then I just post these up online so that Google can search and find this stuff as well. And then last but not least, I just post the stuff. So that's what I do, and literally I try to do it every day. Some days I don't do it every day, but you know, I try to get up at least 1 to 6 posts a week on my website, and it works well. It draws people in, and it creates a lot of traffic for me. Then at the very bottom of my posts, each post that I do, I've got a strong call to action, which is download my 25 must-have sales and marketing tips, or you know, click here to find out about a webinar, or do this or do that. So the whole idea behind it, the last piece that's not in here that you should have in here, is try to get someone to do something, like call me, download this, book an appointment, do something. Have a strong call to action. The next one I'm going to talk about here is using video. So obviously I just talked about the fact that I use video in my blog posts, but the reason why I use video is pretty darn staggering. Let's see here. So I'm going to go into why. There's, you know, I like video because of the fact that you can tell a story, and people are very audio visual in nature, so they'll grasp more and bring more in or understand more. The other thing too is YouTube is the second most popular search engine online, and so if you're putting stuff up on YouTube, you know, chances are you are going to get found on that. This next stat, I thought this was phenomenal. Real estate listings with videos received 403 more inquiries than those without video. So I don't know if anyone's on the real estate person that's on the call here today, but I'll tell you what, if you could just add video, some video of a house, and get like 403 or get 4 times the amount of inquiries, that's incredible, right? So I'm going to show you kind of my secret that I use to multiply my marketing efforts exponentially. And this one is one of those things that once you actually see this, it'll kind of, hopefully it'll make sense to you. So everything I start with is literally, it's video driven. And so I create a video. And in fact, actually, what I'm doing today is I'm recording this webcast, and these will be broken down into posts that go up on my website with the whole intention of actually having a call to action, which is click here to register for future webinars to bring people in. What I do then is I take that and I put it into my blog, just as I've talked about. Then the other thing too is you can put it through a video distribution channel, i.e. YouTube, Vimeo. There's a couple others out there that you can do. There's also then you start distributing it through like social media. So I can put my blog post up, and then I can share it out via like Google Plus, Facebook, Twitter, so on and so forth. I can do the same thing with my videos and share them out with the world as well. Then what happens is, then I can take that video and distribute it. Then what I can do is I take each of these segments from my blog, and I can include that in an email. Or if I create a really cool video that I'd like to share with my email list, I can send it out that way. Then what I can do is I can use that and create an article, which then I can put a blast out on article networks such as eZine, eZineNetwork.com, I believe is what it's called, or even like in an email, obviously. Then one of the things that I thought was really cool was Craig Elias, who's the local guy in Calgary, local author in Calgary. He did like several webinars, and then what he did was he tied this thing together and actually created a book called Shift Selling. But the whole idea behind using video, having a bunch of it, you can use that and create an ebook. And in fact, my 25 must-have sales and marketing tips and tricks has videos listed in it, because of the fact that I've done videos on each one of these topics. So there's another means that you can do. Then what I do is I use this stuff in a podcast, and I'll get into a podcast in a second here, but I rip the audio and I also have the video, and I can create 2 podcast episodes out of just one single video. And then last but not least, obviously, as I said, you can transcribe this. And when you transcribe it, there, bam, it goes into my blog. It can go into an ebook. It can go into an article blast. It can go, it goes into the podcast. Podcast can be then distributed out across the networks. Then I can send those podcasts out in email, so on and so forth. So long story short, obviously what happens is I take a video and I multi-purpose this video in multiple ways. So now I'm getting an exponential increase in the amount of marketing that I can do, and I can reach in the marketplace here. So one of the things that I said that I would do on this webcast is talk about some social media tips and tricks. There was a whole ton that I could have done, but I didn't want to, I didn't want this thing to become a complete social media setting. I wanted this to be, a couple of tricks here, and then I'm going to go into some LinkedIn tricks, which are technically social media too, but I'll show you a few things there. So, why would someone want to use social media to, be on as part of their marketing? It's because, look at this, 46% of customers look at social media when they're making a purchase, right? Businesses, small, medium-sized businesses are using social media to help them drive growth. I do it all the time. I use social media in multiple ways. And I'm going to show you a trick here in a couple of seconds that'll show you how to exponentially use social media as well to get your reach out further. Last one is 90% of customers who follow a brand on Twitter are looking for a discount or a coupon. So if you actually have something and you have the ability to actually create a discount or a coupon, people will follow you and do that sort of stuff. Now, I'm going to show you. I love Hootsuite. Hootsuite is the reason why I love them is twofold. One, they're a Vancouver-based company and they're awesome. And secondly, it's a dashboard for all your social media and this little tool that they have called Hootlet, which fits into Chrome. And so when I go in, this is a view of a blog post that I put up, and I click this little button here. So it's a download that you do into Google Chrome, and then what happens is this little box pulls up. And then what I do is, because I've got different social media accounts hooked into Hootsuite, I can pick which accounts I want to take this information or this content to post to. And in this case, I'm hitting up, it's like 3 Twitter feeds that I have, 1 Facebook feed, and a LinkedIn feed. And then what it does is I press auto schedule. And what this does is throughout the day, it just sends it out to each one of those. So, literally it may hit one of my Twitter feeds in about 5 minutes. It hits another one in about an hour and a half. Then it hits another one about 3 hours or 4 hours. The other one, it might, whatever. You get the story here. It just disperses it out throughout the day. And then, so what I do is I use 5 to start with, because you can only actually use 5 if you're using the auto schedule feature. And I have another 5. So I've got like 2 or 3 Google pages and 2 or 3 Facebook pages that I can also put in here and hit out. So literally, I'm hitting 10 social media channels with about maybe 30 to 40 seconds effort or work. So, what this does is it allows you to get your message out across multiple channels, but it doesn't mean you have to be on Twitter or Facebook or anything throughout the day. You can just jump on first thing in the morning if you have something and send it out. It's a great little tool to use. Love it, and I highly recommend it to people. One of the other ones I'm looking at, so I'm focusing kind of primarily on Twitter here. There's another tool that I use called Social Oomph. So where Hootsuite will allow me to send out a tweet, one single tweet, or whatever it is, a post to Facebook or whatever, and they auto schedule it for me. What Social Oomph does is it allows me to create a tweet or multiple tweets and schedule them to go out, either a constant or over a period of time. So let's say, for example, I have a sale going on. So I do this with a client of mine, the Eisenberg's Furniture and Jacques Furniture. So what I do is I create tweets for them. I know they have a sale going on, and what I'll do is I will create those tweets to go out certain times throughout the day to hit up until the end of their sale. So it might be a 2-week process. And then what I know is I've set this up and I've scheduled it so that it will run for about 2 weeks. So literally what you do is you create your tweet here. You can put your huge URL in or your website address in there and just click shorten links, and it shortens it down for you so that you get enough, you can be under the 140 characters if you're tweeting. And here's a tip for you guys. If you're actually tweeting, try to get things 120 characters and lower, because what happens is if someone likes your stuff and they want to retweet it, if you have it more than 120 characters, it'll start cutting off some of your message, because the person who retweets it puts their name on the end too. So just when you're doing that, just try to go 120 characters and less. Then what I do is I actually schedule when I want this to start. I say, how many times do I want this tweet to go out? How many, and how many recurrences do I want this to do? So in this case, this is going to go out every 12 hours for, and because it's got 2, it's going to be literally over 2 days that this goes out. And then I just pick the account that I want to do, and I hit save, and then it's done. And then it just starts sending all that stuff out for me. It just does it automatically. So, and that one in last month's interview or webcast, I was showing how I actually leveraged Social Oomph to generate probably over $12,000 worth of free advertising for me on a monthly basis. If you take a look at if I was using Google or LinkedIn to drive traffic to my website. So that's one reason why you should go back and watch that replay. So podcasting. The interesting thing about podcasting was I didn't start podcasting until maybe like 2-3 years ago. And why it dawned on me was because I read an article about someone who was podcasting, and the sheer traffic that they were getting from iTunes to their website was unbelievable. And since I was already creating video and I was able to take the audio out, I thought, well, why wouldn't I do this? So I started doing it. So just to give you an idea, my podcast channel gets 4 times the amount of traffic that my blog does. And you know, the reason being is because I'm using a service called Podbean. And I'll get into this in a second here. But Podbean already has a built-in infrastructure with people who want to, you know, listen or find certain certain podcasts on business or sales or marketing or whatever you're in. And then on top of it, you have the ability to take your podcast feed and put it onto iTunes. And it's a really simple process. And it literally, it'll take iTunes less than 24 hours to accept your podcast and put it into their podcasts. And so literally now you're leveraging, you know, traffic from iTunes to drive people back to your website. So it's a phenomenal source of traffic. And like I said, I'm getting like 4 times and sometimes like 6 times the amount of traffic of my blog, and my blog's in like the top 1% of all websites in the world. So I mean, I'm getting a lot of traffic on this thing. So here's how you do this. I recommend going to Podbean. It's podbean.com and signing up for an account. So the accounts, I think there's a free account, but I have like 2 accounts that I have on there. One for a divestiture email that I do, or a podcast I do, and one for my sales and marketing for STAT or sales tip a day. And you know, I think I pay $8 a month for one of them, and I $15 for another, or something like that. It's not an awful lot, right? So here's what I say is, you know, first of all, create some audio content. It doesn't necessarily have to be audio content, because you can actually put videos up on your podcast too. And I do both. So you can use like an iPhone or a recorder or your desktop computer or whatever, or you can use a video and just, you know, create some audio content. And then what I did was I used my iPhone and I created an intro and an outro. So when it starts, if you go to, I think my Podbean account is salestipaday.podbean.com. And if you click on one of my audio ones, you'll hear my introduction, which is basically saying, hey, like, you're listening to salestipaday.com, go to salestipaday.com to get, you know, valuable content, blah, 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 whatever it is. And then I have an outro, which also tells people like, hey, come to the website or come to Sales Tip a Day. So that's how I'm driving people to it. Then what I use is I use a program on my Mac called GarageBand. So I take the intro, then I take my audio content and I put it in, and then I take the outro and I put it in and I create a podcast. Now, it sounds really technical and super tough. It's really not that. Tough. And if anyone really wants to know how to do it, I'd be more than happy to create another another webinar to show people how to do just this. And then what you do is you go post it up to Podbean. You just upload the file. You create a title and a little bit of content. And because you're already syndicated to iTunes, it'll go through to iTunes. And then last but not least is there is what they call a real simple syndication feed that allows you to distribute it out to social media channels, so that draws people in even further to your podcast. So last but not least, we're into the home stretch here. Like I said, I'm trying to keep this under half an hour, so I know I'm parlaying a lot of information here. But in this case, I'm going to go through 3 simple little tips and tricks that you can use in LinkedIn. So, you know, why do you want to use LinkedIn? So first of all, you know, I love LinkedIn. I think it's a phenomenal tool. Some people may know, some people may not know. So I run my own company, but I also work for a company called Intralinks. In Intralinks, you know, it's a great company, but they think that cold calling is still king. And I just bang my head against the wall and say that cold calling is just, you know, it's brutal. Your likelihood of success is less than 8%, based on a Baylor University study that I saw recently. And, you know, I use LinkedIn to leverage and get more people to book meetings with and stuff. So long story short, 91% of the people are using the free version, 9% use a premium version. I use the premium version because there's so much that you can do with the premium version. And, you know, my personal belief is if only 9% of people are using the premium version, you get more with it. Some of the strategies that I lay out are well worth getting just a premium account. just so that you can use it. And I don't know if you can do some of these in a free account because I haven't had a free account for such a long time. And then last but not least, okay, so just to give you an idea, LinkedIn is responsible for 64% of all corporate website visits, whereas say Facebook and Twitter are less than 20%. So I mean, this creates some great opportunities, obviously. So first thing, finding prospects that will buy. How I look at this is in LinkedIn, you can set up search alerts based on specific terms. And I know you can do this in the premium. I don't know if you can do it in the free account. But what you do is you set it up, and you set it up for an area. And once you set it up for a specific area, so in this case, I actually have owner set up, and I do it for all across Canada. So anybody who changes their title to owner is the person that I am specifically looking to engage with right now. And the reason being is because when someone changes a role or a job, you literally have about a 90-day opportunity to engage with that person, and that's when they are 10 times more likely to look at a new service. And in this case, I'll give you an example. So a person buys a business, becomes a business owner. They want to, in this case, want to potentially bring more sales into their company. So this is where I would hit this person and say, hey, you know what? I can give you a hand doing this with whatever services that I offer. So that 10 times figure comes from Craig Elias. He's got a whole bunch of research on this. You know, you can go to his site, shipselling.com, I believe is what it is. He's got a whole bunch of information there. Just a great guy with a wealth of information. So this is a huge opportunity that you can leverage. How you do it is you just go into the advanced search, you set up the criteria that you have, and then in the upper right-hand corner, you get to save that search. And then what it does is every week, LinkedIn will send you an email with all the people that have matched that criteria. The next one, social selling. Love this. So once again, this is where I can use an advanced people search. So I set up certain parameters as to, you know, like keywords. So I'll use Intralinks as an example. I want to find people that are in a corp dev role, or corporate development role in a company. So I would use that as a keyword search. And then specifically, since I only handle kind of Vancouver, Calgary, and Edmonton, which are the major centers that I look after, I really only want to find out people in that area. So I would find a postal code that's kind of in the downtown Vancouver or in downtown Edmonton, and then I would put it in here. And then what I do is, in this case, I just hit Save Search. And in the upper right-hand corner, and unfortunately I don't have my mouse, so it's not working on the screen here, but in the upper right-hand corner of LinkedIn, it says Save Search. So you click on that, it'll Save Search. Now, what happens is, that's how you do the other one. But when I do this and I hit search, it'll bring people up. And in this case, there's a guy named Earl down at the bottom here. His name is Earl. I'm not connected to him, but he hits the criteria of what I want. So what I'm doing here is I have a list of people that I can connect with that can introduce me to Earl. And in this case, you know, I can hit up Lisa here. I've got Craig and Kelsey, a bunch of people that I know that know Earl. And I can say, hey, look, you know, I can hit that Ask Lisa about Earl. I'll say, Lisa, you know, how do you know Earl? Is he a buddy? Would you mind introducing me to him? And by doing that, think of it this way. You're actually asking someone to give you a referral to meet a person. So what I do is I create a blurb and I give it to Lisa if she agrees, and she will send it off to that person. And then hopefully he'll just respond and say, yep, we'll do it. I've had great success using this to get into you know, VP and president levels in multiple of the largest companies in Western Canada. So it's a phenomenal tool to leverage and use. The last one I'm going to talk about is InMail. And if I'm not connected to somebody and I want to get in front of them, my last resort is typically I will use Google's InMail. Now, once again, I don't know if you have InMail in a free account, but in the premium account you do. I get like 25 a month. And the nice thing about InMails is that if I send an email through InMail to someone on LinkedIn, 7 days later, if they don't respond or open or do whatever, anything with it or don't action it, then that in-mail credit comes back to me and I can use it again throughout the month. So you constantly, you have a bucket full of these things. And then what I do is if I find the person and they hit the parameters of someone that I want to potentially take a look at doing business with, what I'll do is I'll craft an email and send it to them directly through InMail. And you know, my response rate is not nearly as good as when I'm doing the social selling and asking people to introduce me, but I've had some very good success doing this too. So it's, you know, there's 3 great little tips that you could potentially use or tricks that you can use to leverage LinkedIn. And you know, the other way you could look at things if you want to see how to use LinkedIn, just go to like Google and search LinkedIn social selling tips or something like that. And there's a whole bunch that are out there. So that said, you know what? I do this on everything that I do. I try to make an offer for people. If anyone understands or knows who I am, they know that I have live chat, a live chat solution that I offer. And I want to offer it to anyone for 30 days to put on their website. What we do is we put a piece of code up on your website, and you can engage with your website visitors. Or I have a team of Canadians and Americans through my buddy John Leishman who will do this for you. And long story short, what happens is you engage with website traffic, and once you start engaging with website traffic, they come to your website for a reason. 70 to 80% of people that come to your website will leave without ever coming back again. If you can actually connect with those people prior to them leaving, chances are you're going to get a portion of them that will come into a sales funnel. So I'm offering this free for 30 days. If you want to see how it works, you can go to my website, salestiptoday.com. You can interface with the people down in Mexico, like Canadians and Americans that are down in Mexico that are answering this stuff. Or you can go to geeksontheway.com and do the same thing. One last thing. October 31st, 2 weeks today, I am going to do a Stop Cold Calling and Start Selling a webinar. And how this came about was in my last webinar that I did. I showed a process, a kind of a process that you can use to literally get the warm leads, which involves a live chat. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into greater detail on this next webinar, and I am going to lay this out and show people how to do this properly, how to drive people to your website, how to set it up so that people can connect with you, how people can give you their name, how I can increase monthly exponentially the amount of sales leads that you're getting in. So this whole thing is going to go through, and it's going to show you a real simple process that you can use. And if you're not on my webinar notification list, you can email me at chris@salestipaday.com, and I'll make sure you get on it. Or if you visit my website, and I believe if you back out or try to back out, a pop-up comes up that'll get you onto my webinars. Email us and it'll go out. And I believe that's it. I think if you need any help or anything, just as always, reach out to me. My phone number is 403-630-1243.